Hey, Coach, welcome. So glad you found us on YouTube. Let me know how I can help. As you can see, I've won lots of championships. I've won my fair share of balls behind. Run one of the best high school programs in the country. Coached a bunch of NBA guys. Let me help you become a better basketball coach. This video is just one small piece. Let me mentor you. Teachhoops.com. Click down below or above. We'll help you do that. It is the one-stop shopping for basketball coaches. But the best part is you get a Yoda, you get a mentor. I will help you. You'll get my personal email address. You will get one-on-one calls, office hours, you name it. We will help you become a better basketball coach. Enjoy.
All right, welcome to Kermit the Frog and Coaching Youth Hoops. You don't think I sound like Kermit the Frog, Coach?
Yeah, I mean, now that you say that, I guess I'm so used to it during the basketball season.
I know this is so bad. It's so bad.
Loud gym, right, Coach? You're not yelling, it's just a loud
It's
gym.
not. It's a cold. That's what it
Oh,
is.
is
It's
it?
not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's yeah. The parents notice it though. Like when they talk to me and stuff, they can. I have a deep voice anyway, but this makes it progressively worse.
Yeah, you have a great voice for podcasting.
Yes, but not when it's like raspy and I sound like I smoke two packs a day or something this time of year. But anyway, before we jump into the topic, we want to give a big shout out to our checklist, right? First, our season
Yeah,
checklist.
one of the things that came up in our surveys was when do you start planning for the next season? And the overwhelming majority of coaches start planning right after the last season. And I think that's get a jump on your season planning. Go to coachingyouthhoops.com/season dash checklist. We created a very large checklist for you that literally has everything you need to plan your season. It'll give you fresh ideas, thoughts of what you need to look at from everything from offense to defense to all the parent information and post evaluations and tryout evaluations, everything. So go to coachingyouthhoops.com/season checklist.
Yep.
And game
And what else?
changer.
There you go. You
So
beat me
yeah,
to
go to
it.
gc.com/coaching youth hoops, one of our favorite apps and tracking apps for youth coaches. It's free to you. And now that we're coming up into the, spring and summer AAU seasons, go check that out. It'll give you all the stats you need if mom and dad, grandma can't be at the game. They also have live streaming. Go to gc.com/coaching youth hoops for more information.
All right. So what are we going to talk about? You already kind of tweaked it a little bit here about the parent forum. I know I do parent
Yeah.
forum.
This came up in a Facebook discussion, our Facebook group discussion. Yeah, if you're not on our Facebook group, it's a lot of great questions and answers on it from coaches from around the world with lots of experience. Like this one guy today had 40 years of coaching.
Right.
It's a long time.
It is a long.
Um,
Yes,
anyway,
not quite.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. He anyway, this I wish I had this idea. He was talking about how to cut down on parent complaints.
Okay.
And one of the things that he does is he asks for parent expectations before the season starts. What's important to you? What's important to, that what's important for what your child needs to accomplish this season? Some open-ended questions, some ratings. But it was pretty, I thought that was a great idea from that perspective. Like ask the parents what they expect. So when a problem arises, you can go back to them and say, well, you told me that fun was the number one thing,
Right.
right? And not playing time, this, that, or the other. And if you're using Game Changer, you can see how much playing time each child has. It's another way to cut down on pair complaints, record every game. So I don't know how you feel about that. I don't know if you've done that, uh, very specifically, not just for your players, but for the parents.
Yeah. I mean, we've always done that in our pre-season meeting, we've always handed out kind of player expectation, parent expectations, and then kind of had them fill out a form of kind of what's expected for what they expect and what we expect. So
Mm-hmm.
and then that tends to take care of a lot of a lot of the communication or lack
Yeah.
of communication. um So, yeah, I mean, we've always done that, and especially with a player and parent expectations. What is expected of a parent in the stands and blah blah
Mm.
blah, and then what's expected of the player. And then we talk about rules and all that kind of stuff too. But I think over communication is the way to go in all of this.
Yeah. Talk to me though, but what is since this is really about kind of focused on parents and set in getting their expectations for their player, what what is on that some of the things on that list for parents? And one of the things you brought up was coaching from the stands. That's on my list, right? Don't coach from the stands. But
Yep. And then it's like,
why? Right? And then and then what do you do if they're coaching from the stands? And what are some of the other things on that checklist of yours?
so we talk about, expectations about their player, like what do we expect academically? How can they support their
Mm,
player academically? How can they support
mm.
them with nutrition and sleep and and phones and curfew and all those things? So we talk about being the that. We
And
talk
again,
about
you're talking about high school players
high
too,
school
just to be
players. We
clear.
are,
Yep.
we are. And then we also talk about the expectations after a game. I go, and I
What do you
use
mean
my
about expectations after a game?
um couple things.
Yeah.
We have a 24-hour rule where they can't, they shouldn't talk
Oh,
to me or
parents can't.
parents.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
But what they should be saying, I literally walk them through what they should be saying to their athlete
You do.
after a
Oh,
game.
yeah. Yeah.
Like, you know, don't talk about not pivoting on the right foot. Talk about, hey, did you have fun? What'd you think? Let them process it a little bit. Don't
Hmm.
coach them, you know.
Yeah.
um, so that's more for off-season kind of things. Um, so we talk about that, and then we talk about kind of things that they can do outside of the basketball. Like we talk about team bonding, parent dinners, things that they can
Hmm.
do to help build a cohesive group, because that's what I'm ideally want, is that they're
Yeah.
friends 10 years from now. That's what I tell the parents. I want them to still be, they're not all 15 of them going to be best friends, but they're going to be
Right.
enough that, they're acquaintances at least, or they see each other and they can talk and catch up. And um, so we talk about how we can build kind of that community. And that's a big one for me, is
Mm.
because it's hard, because at any point on any team, there's like two happy people.
At any point,
Because
at any team, you're saying there's only two happy
players,
people?
yeah,
Players,
because
yeah.
the fifth player thinks they should be the third player, and the
Mm.
second, like the seventh player thinks they should be start. I mean, again, I'm a math person. It's like,
Yeah.
and happy is probably not the right word, but um, they're always, yeah. So it's like kind of fitting into their world is where I'm trying to help them process
Yeah.
that. And then the last thing I talk about is kind of how this is like we're trying to teach them life lessons about
Hmm.
fitting into a specific, and I don't put this necessarily on the form, but I definitely do it on the conversation about part of growing up is figuring out where you fit and how you fit. And it's like a workplace thing. You got to fit into a group where you're not always going to get along with everyone, and you're not always going to see eye to
Yeah.
eye, and you're not always going to agree with the decisions your boss makes or your coach makes.
Yeah.
How do you deal
Yeah.
with that? What do you do about it? And how do you adjust to it? And those kind of things. So I talk to the parents about, like, how can you help your player do that? Because that's part of the growth that I think youth and team sports help a lot with.
Yeah, and I think that's, and again, I don't want to go down in that tangent, and we can talk about that in another podcast. Uh, but I think that's what's missing in youth sports are the life lessons, especially travel ball, right? That seems to kind of taken a different path, right? Um, but okay, going back to the expectations, or let's say if they're well, let's finish this discussion on expectations. So again, parent expectations of their child. What are you hoping to see on that form uh, back from parents? If it's an open-ended, or even if it's like if you're asking them, rank these things in order. So they'll think those things might be play or what's important to you, playing time, fun, they learn
Right.
some skills, life lessons, etc.
So before we do that, let's give a big shout out to Game Changer Coach before we dive into that topic.
Yeah, coaches, go check out gc.com/coaching youth hoops for all of your stats needs, in-game stats, post-game analysis, and even they do live game streaming. So parents, grandparents can see the game if they can't be in the stands. Go check it out at gc.com/coaching youth hoops.
All right. So what am I looking for? I'm not, to be honest with you. I want to see what they think because different groups have different feels. It's really weird.
Okay.
Um,
Talk to me,
so
dive into that a little bit more. What does that mean? Like, what have you seen in your 40 plus years?
thanks, making me feel old. I've seen the competitive groups. I've seen the
Mm,
want team building groups. I've seen the. I just want
mm,
my son to feel good about. I mean, it's just, and I don't tend to do a rank. I tend to do more open ended questions because I want them to be
hmm.
able to free flow. Um, so that's where I can get kind of more of a sense of where are we.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
and especially, where's the difference between and again, high school, a senior parent and a sophomore parent.
Mm, hmm.
The sophomore parent maybe is just happy they're on the team and maybe get on the court. Senior parent wants. So I'm trying to gauge because their gauge in the play. I tend to get a truer input sometimes from the parents and the player. Um,
Okay.
it's weird in that sense of where they kind of sit and what they're kind of looking at. So it's kind of again, I'm taking data dump rather than a scale. I'm not necessarily looking for a scale.
You're very
I might
scale.
do the
Yeah.
scale at the youth level for sure though, with a
Why?
fun just I
What,
mean I would do both, I think.
both. Yeah. But why,
Yeah,
why do you think more at the
because ours
youth
is
level
our,
for the scale?
the fun is, kind of there's a difference between travel ball and high school ball. It's like
Hmm.
there just is, and no one's
Hmm.
paying to play for me. you know, there's a consequence,
Yeah.
there's a thing there when you pay to play, um, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Um, and there's some expectations I think that come along with I'm spending $5,500. Is
Right.
my kid not
Yeah.
going to play? Where in a high school team, you know, there's maybe a user's fee, but it's a high school, it's like,
Right.
it's a little different in that sense. So I think how you set up these forms would look a little bit different.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that totally makes sense. So at the youth level, then, come on, more of a rating with open-ended questions. Uh, do you think? Well, then, how do you use it? So, um, again, let's go back to your example of because this is one of mine too, like parent expectations. Don't coach from the stands. I brought that up in the parent meeting the other day, and I talked about the psychology behind why you don't want to do that. And I even tell the girls, I said, you're going to make a mistake in a game. I don't want you looking up at mom or dad. If you look up at mom or dad, I'll tell you like, hey, look at me. We have this whole thing about the red dot and the next play and how you overcome those types of challenges. Uh, But if you're looking at your parents and your parents are coaching from the stands, I'll just, I'll make it really easy for your parents to come talk to you by putting you on the bench. Come down and they can talk to you all they want in your ear and whisper, and you can do the rest of the game from the bench. I just think it's gets so confusing for the kids that you have to kind of get drastic in that. I don't know what your thoughts are.
No, I agree. I agree. I mean, and again, it's hard. It's hard. Some of
Mhm.
these, especially when they're young, they don't know. Like the young,
Right.
young player, young parents, younger parents, but they just don't. What are expectations? They just want to know where they kind of fit. I think is a big part of it. Don't you think?
I'm curious. This is more from my curiosity. Do you find any less or more coaching from the stands from parents who have played at a higher level versus those that have not?
I don't think there's a correlation there. I
Okay.
don't. Um, I think there's an investment correlation. The ones that
Okay.
have spent more time developing their son or daughter, or that, I
Hmm.
think that's a bigger correlation than one of the,
That's
because I've had
interesting. Yeah.
parents that have played and not I mean, I
Yeah.
played and I never like, I mean, this is my son's thing,
Yeah.
but there's people, I think it's more of it's weird. It's an investment. It's an investment in time. It's an investment in money. It's an investment. I think there's more of that correlation where it tends to escalate the coaching from the stands. That's what
Hmm.
I've seen.
Hmm.
Again, purely observational study from the
Yeah.
science teacher. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and I'd love to say that, hey, go to this URL to download our parent evaluation or parent feedback. Because I'm creating mine right now. Like I don't have it all thought through, and I haven't really done it specifically for parents. I've done it for players. It's probably not going to be too much different, but it's gonna, this topic was important because I wanted to, because I think it's something that we should think about as coaches to get those expectations from parents as well as the players. What do you want to accomplish, right?
Right.
Um, for
I
both
agree.
sides. So,
All right. So
yeah.
let's give a summary of that, coach.
Yeah, so I think again, going back, I think it's important to ask those questions of parents, ask them what their expectations are. It can be just a simple, Google form that says, what are your expectations for your player? Open-ended questions. You can, ask them to rate uh, certain things that you feel are important, but also kind of the written expectations from you. One of the things we talked about is, don't coach from the stands, right? Get your players to the practice on time, because we have limited practice time. Make sure they're, fully clothed, they have their shoes and they have a ball, right? Those types of things. Um, you know, and then whatever else you believe in as a organization, for us, as Coach mentioned too, community is a big thing, leadership, right? I try to empower my kids. So whatever those things are, just keep it short, tight, and but now you have, if you gather that info, now you have something you can use when issues do come up.
No, that's and we've said this a multitude of times. Over communicate.
Yeah.
Over communicate. It will solve 97% of your problem. It won't solve 3%, but it will solve 97. All right. Till next week, coach.
Till next week.
Hey, coach, I'm glad you enjoyed that video. Let me know how I can help you become a better basketball coach. Teachhoops.com is one way that I can do that. I have coached at every level, won lots of championships, lots of rings. Let me know how I can help you become a better basketball coach on and off the court. So check out teachhoops.com for that.